Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm Joseph Lombard, aka N2SC4R, and welcome to another episode of the N2SC4R's NASCAR Sprint Cup Race Review. Today I will be discussing the 2016 Folds of Honor's Quiktrip 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. First off, I just want to say congratulations to Jimmie Johnson for winning the race at Atlanta, and he set another accomplishment to his career. Jimmie Johnson has tied Dale Earnhardt Sr. for the most career wins in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, with 76 total wins in his career. When will Jimmie Johnson pass Dale Sr. in the all-time win list with 77 career victories? Well, he's got some great tracks coming up. Starting the West Coast Swing next Sunday at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Jimmie Johnson has been successful in the past at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Can he get it done again there? It's another mile-and-a-half track. He's been successful at the mile-and-a-half tracks. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmie Johnson is a contender for next Sunday's race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And then in 2 weeks, you got the race at Phoenix International Raceway. He's been great there as well. And then I will be attending to the race in 3 weeks at Auto Club Speedway, that's where Jimmie Johnson got his first career win in NASCAR Sprint Cup Series back in 2002. So, Jimmie Johnson's got some great tracks coming up. He's got the momentum after he got the win at Atlanta Motor Speedway. His second in a row at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Will Jimmie Johnson go back-to-back after winning Atlanta and then win at Las Vegas Motor Speedway next Sunday? We're going to find out. He's been, like I say, he's been successful there in the past. Will he do it again? Like I said, we're going to find out. So, next step to Jimmie Johnson's career is passing Dale Sr. in the all-time win list with a total of 77 victories. That will happen definitely soon. So, let's get on to the Atlanta race. So, the first race ever with the new lower downforce package, which I would say, the new lower downforce package, I love it. Because I think it's going to provide some great racing. It provided some great racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It also provided a lot of passing. A lot of cars were sliding around all over the place. And it increased the tire wear especially. I mean, Atlanta Motor Speedway has been known for tire wear increasingly, even in the past. But I feel like the tire wear has really increased in this race. It seemed like all the drivers had to make a green flag pit stop every 40 laps to get 4 fresh tires. So that made it interesting as well. But I love this new lower downforce package that they brought to Atlanta Motor Speedway. And I cannot wait until they do more races with this lower downforce package. Because definitely at the mile-and-a-half tracks will really come into play, like Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Texas, Charlotte, Kansas, other tracks like that. You know, Chicagoland. I'm really looking forward to more races with this lower downforce packages. I think it's going to bring some great racing in 2016. So Atlanta was a success with that. So let's go from the drop of the green flag to about over 200 laps. So it was a long green flag run from the drop of the green flag for the start of the race to the lap 200 mark or lap 210 mark until the first caution came out for debris. Even with that long stretch of green flag, it was some great racing. I mean, like I said, what I also love about this race at Atlanta was that no driver really dominated. The driver that led the most laps in the race, that led over 100-plus laps, was Kevin Harvick. But he wasn't dominant early on in the race. Kurt Busch was dominant at the beginning of the race because Kurt Busch started on the pole and he led the early laps of the race. Matt Kenseth, which we will get to Matt Kenseth right now. Apparently, Matt Kenseth did lead a lot of laps, and then until one of the green flag pit stops, he ended up getting a penalty. Why? Well, apparently, it was an improper fueling is what the penalty was called, which is kind of new. I've never really heard of this penalty. I don't know if it's ever happened before, but you know, anyway, it's called improper fueling, this penalty was. Apparently, the gas man placed the track bar tool on the back of Kenseth's car while making the pit stop, and he left the tool on the back of Matt Kenseth's car. That is illegal. That's basically a no-no to NASCAR. Honestly, to me, it's a dumb rule. It's a dumb penalty, honestly. But no matter how dumb the penalties are rules. You got to follow them. And the crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe, was arguing the penalty with NASCAR officials, which, let me tell you something, I don't know why that the drivers, crew chiefs, spotters, teams or whoever has not figured out that NASCAR always gets the final word. You should never argue the penalty with NASCAR because 95% of the time NASCAR always wins the arguments. So for Jason Ratcliffe, who is Matt Kenseth's crew chief, to argue the penalty with the NASCAR official was really a no-no. And he should have just shut up and accepted the penalty, and Matt Kenseth would have had him made a pass-through penalty down pit road. Matt Kenseth would have only lost one lap, but the fact that Jason Ratcliffe was arguing this penalty for so long with the officials, you see Matt Kenseth running the laps out there on the track, which all of a sudden, you only have a few laps that NASCAR will give you until you serve your pass-through penalty, or so they're going to stop scoring you. Well, Matt Kenseth was still running the laps when all of a sudden the flagman picked up the black flag with the white crossing, which means that NASCAR will stop scoring Matt Kenseth. Because that happened, mostly it was Jason Ratcliffe's fault because Jason Ratcliffe couldn't keep his mouth shut and just accepted the penalty. It was still early on in the race, so I don't know why he was arguing the penalty and stuff. They should just accept it, let Matt Kenseth come down pit road and make a pass-through penalty, and it was over and done with. Matt Kenseth would have only lost one lap, but the fact that Matt Kenseth the fact that NASCAR stopped scoring Matt Kenseth, after Matt Kenseth served his penalty, Matt Kenseth lost 2 laps. So it cost Matt Kenseth a win because Jason Ratcliffe wouldn't shut his mouth and just accepted the penalty. And Matt Kenseth was getting upset as well because he wasn't sure what was going on. So Matt Kenseth wasn't happy either. Matt Kenseth ended the day with a 19th place finish when they could have had a possible shot at the win coming down to the end of the race. But, you know, Jason Ratcliffe, he wouldn't keep his mouth shut, and I don't know why. So it was over for Matt Kenseth. Now, the next dominant driver was Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick, who was the one that led most of the laps at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I'm sorry I'm studying on my words. It's late at night while I'm recording this. But Kevin Harvick led the most laps. And the first caution came around lap 210 for a piece of debris. That set up another long stretch of green flag racing. This second round of green flag racing went about over 100 laps. So again, we saw the more passing, the lower downforce package coming into play with the cars sideways all over the place, and the tire wear. So let's get down to the final green flag pit stop of the race. So Kevin Harvick, the race leader, he has a 3.5-4 second lead over Jimmie Johnson, who was running second. Well, Jimmie Johnson and the 48 team decided to come down pit road early, get those 4 fresh tires. They have the fresher tires ready to go. They put them on the car, and Jimmie Johnson leaves pit road out and away with those 4 fresh tires. And then 9 to 10 laps later, Kevin Harvick, the race leader, came down pit road and got those 4 fresh tires. But because Jimmie Johnson pitted early and got the advantage with those 4 fresher tires, Jimmie Johnson, after the cycle green flag pit stops finished, Jimmie Johnson came out as the race leader. And not just as the race leader, but a whopping race leader. I mean, he led big time. He ended up having a 13 to 14 second lead over Kevin Harvick after the green flag pit stop cycled through. That's pretty impressive. But the race wasn't over. Jimmie Johnson has this big lead, but Jimmie Johnson's tires were going to wear down quicker than Kevin Harvick's because Kevin Harvick all of a sudden now has the fresher tires than Jimmie Johnson. So the lead, Jimmie Johnson's lead went down from 14 seconds to 6 seconds. I mean, Kevin Harvick was catching him. And all of a sudden it seemed like Kevin Harvick stalled out. Like he couldn't catch Jimmie Johnson anymore. This was around 15 laps to go. Harvick was catching him, but then all of a sudden it stalled out. And he stayed to 5.5 to 6 seconds behind Jimmie Johnson. So Kevin Harvick couldn't even catch Jimmie Johnson anymore. Now let's get down to the final few laps. So 3 laps to go. This is Jimmie Johnson's race. He has a 6-second lead over Kevin Harvick. No one was going to catch Jimmie Johnson. Not even Kevin Harvick, not even Kyle Busch. No one was going to catch Jimmie Johnson. This is Jimmie Johnson's race to lose. And Jimmie Johnson had this big lead. Feels confident that he's going to win the race. All of a sudden, 3 laps to go. Going down the first straightaway into turn number 1, I guess Ryan Newman, who was running great all day long, cut a left rear tire, and Ryan Newman was sent spinning because of that cut tire. Going down into turn number 1, he spins up the racetrack, and all of a sudden, caution comes out. So that 6-second lead that Jimmie Johnson had over Kevin Harvick, gone. And I bet the 48 team was not happy at all when that caution came out, but there's nothing you can do when someone has a flat tire. It happens, you know. But that just sets up the final restart and the exciting 2-lap shootout. But they had to make one more decision. Does Jimmie Johnson come down pit road and get those 4 fresher tires? Or does he take the gamble and stay out? And what if Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch came down pit road but Jimmie Johnson did it? Jimmie Johnson's done. Or what if Jimmie Johnson and Kevin Harvick both stayed out but Kyle Busch and the rest of the field came in? Then Jimmie Johnson and Kevin Harvick are done because the guys behind them are going to have the 4 fresher tires, and Jimmie Johnson and Kevin Harvick will have the older tires. They would get blown by, their race is over, and they won't be the winner. So Jimmie Johnson, Kevin Harvick, and the rest of the lead lap cars decided to come down pit road for their final pit stop under that second caution to get those 4 fresh tires. And all of them did. None of them took 2 tires because that would have been really dumb, honestly, if someone took 2 tires. That would have not been a good call. But everyone made a good call and took 4 tires. They were sent out, and now they're getting ready for the restart. Jimmie Johnson, the race leader on the inside. Kevin Harvick, second on the outside. And Kyle Busch behind them. And then we're coming down to the final restart. 2 laps to go. Jimmie Johnson inside, Kevin Harvick outside. The green flag drops. Jimmie Johnson gets a good restart. And then what did Kevin Harvick do that you should not do on the final restart, especially when you're going for a chance to win, is spin the tires. Kevin Harvick spun the tires on the restart. Harvick falls back. Harvick ends up finishing 6th. Now, there's a new restart rule where there's a line down the back straightaway. If the leader crosses that line down the back straightaway and all of a sudden there's something that's happening behind them, the next flag ends the race, whether it finishes under green or whether it finishes under caution. Well, Jimmie Johnson, who was the race leader, and he's got Kyle Busch right there behind him. I mean, Kyle Busch could have had a shot to get to Jimmie Johnson and have a shot at winning this race. So Jimmie Johnson passed that line down the back straightaway, which means next flag ends the race no matter what happens. So Jimmie Johnson going down the back straightaway, going to turn number 3, coming to the white flag. All of a sudden, big wreck happens behind him down the back straightaway, which that brings out, NASCAR has decided to bring out the caution, which means the race is over. David Reagan, Eric Almirola, Landon Castle, and a few other drivers were involved, and there was some couple of hard hits in that crash, and it was a big pile-up back there. Debris was all over the track, so that's when NASCAR decided, okay, we need to throw the caution because there was some couple of hard hits and there's debris all over the place. Jimmie Johnson, who was the race leader, came out in front. He was declared the winner because the yellow flag came out, the field is frozen, no one gets to pass. And Jimmie Johnson wins the race. He won under caution in overtime. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. actually got around Kyle Busch for second, edged out Kyle Busch for the second spot. It seemed like they let the drivers race back to the line before they, or at least let the leader race back to the line before they brought out the caution. So Jimmie Johnson came across the start-finish line to win the race. Dale Earnhardt Jr. edges out Kyle Busch to finish second. Kyle Busch ends up finishing third, which, by the way, great recovery for Kyle Busch to finish third because Kyle Busch would have had the... Whoa! Oh my God. I have a cut right here on my nose. That's crazy. I'm going to have to ignore that right now. I'll clean it up after. But Kyle Busch, who would have started on the pole in the Atlanta race, but failed post-qualifying inspection because the toe was out. He went from starting on the pole to starting 39th dead last. But give props to Kyle Busch from going from starting last place to finishing third in Atlanta Motor Speedway. Good recovery by him, good finish by him. And that's the second straight week that Kyle Busch had finished third. He finished third in the 500 as well, Daytona 500. So, and yeah. So that was the finish right there. Jimmie Johnson wins the Folds of Honor Quiktrip 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Let me give you the race results, top 10 race results here. Also, because of Jimmie Johnson's win, he tied Dale Earnhardt Sr. for the most career wins in NASCAR Sprint Cup Series history with a total of 76 wins. When will Jimmie Johnson pass Dale Sr. in the all-time win list? Could happen in Las Vegas. Could happen sooner or later in this 2016 season, but we're going to find out when it will happen. So the top 10 finishing order. Jimmie Johnson wins the Folds of Honor Quiktrip 500 Atlanta. Dale Earnhardt Jr. finishes second. Kyle Busch 3rd. Kurt Busch, pole sitter, finishes 4th. Carl Edwards 5th. Kevin Harvick 6th. Martin Truex Jr. 7th. Chase Elliott. Give props to Chase Elliott as well. After he had a terrible going in the Daytona 500. Crashed early on in the race. Only recovered to finish 37th. Well, Chase Elliott, driving that famous 24 after replacing Jeff Gordon, he gets his first top 10 of his NASCAR Sprint Cup career at Atlanta Motor Speedway, finishing in the 8th spot. So give credit to Chase Elliott for that. My man, that's awesome for Chase Elliott, especially at his home state track, because he's from Dawsonville, Georgia. So perfect to get your first top 10 finish of your career. Brad Keselowski 9th, and Ricky Stenhouse rounds up the top 10. Now, other notables, Joey Logano finishes 12th. Danny Hamlin, Daytona 500 winner. We thought he was going to be a contender for this Atlanta race. He finishes 16th. Didn't seem like he showed anything in that race. Matt Kenseth, who could have had a shot at the win at the end of the race, but got that penalty, finishes 19th. And Danica Patrick rounds up the top 20. Ryan Newman, who had a great run going until he had that flat tire with 3 laps to go, finishes 24th. And finishing last place, Josh Wise. So, anyway, on a scale from 1 to 5, I'll give this Atlanta race a 4. I love the lower downforce package that they provided for this race. A lot of passing, a lot of cars sliding around, tire wear, a lot of pit stops. It was just great racing overall, even though we had 200 plus laps of green flag at one point, which was still a good race, you know. So, yeah, I'll give it a 4 out of 5 for this Atlanta race. So, now it's on to start the West Coast swing, starting at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Another 1.5 mile track, different configuration. Will Jimmie Johnson go back-to-back after winning Atlanta and then win at Las Vegas? Like I said, he's been successful at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It would not surprise me at all if Jimmie Johnson is a contender next Sunday at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So, or will Kevin Harvick get his 2nd straight Las Vegas win? He won at Las Vegas last year. Can he do it again this year? Can Kevin Harvick have that West Coast swing momentum again like he did last season, winning at Las Vegas, winning at Phoenix, and then finishing 2nd at Auto Club Speedway? Who is going to tame the West Coast swing? Who's going to dominate the West Coast swing? We're about to find out starting next Sunday at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the first of 3 West Coast swing races. So that's it. That's all I got to talk about in the Atlanta race. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed the Atlanta race. Tune in next week when I discuss the 2016 Cobalt Tools 400 from Las Vegas Motor Speedway on this channel. I'm Joseph Lombard, aka N2SC4R, and I will see you later.